I can't handle these medical bills anymore. You deal with it, David said, tossing a stack of hospital bills onto our kitchen table. Our son Lucas's physical therapy equipment loomed in the background, a silent witness to my husband's cowardice. My name is Olivia Parker, and at 34, I never imagined I'd be watching my husband of 12 years walk out on our family because our son's cerebral palsy was too expensive. What about Lucas? I called after him, my voice steadier than I felt. He needs his father. David paused at the door, his expensive golf clubs slung over his shoulder, the same clubs he bought last month while I was juggling overtime shifts to cover Lucas's medications. He needs a lot of things, Olivia. Things I can't give him anymore. This isn't the life I signed up for. The sound of the door slamming echoed through our modest home. Upstairs, I heard Lucas's breathing machine whir steadily, keeping our beautiful 8-year-old son comfortable while he slept. I clutched the edge of the kitchen counter, refusing to let the tears fall. I had to be strong. Lucas needed at least one parent who wouldn't break. The next morning, I discovered David had emptied our joint account, leaving just enough to cover this month's mortgage. His note was brief. I'll send what I can when I can. Don't try to contact me. I sat in our living room, surrounded by the life we'd built together. Photos on the walls told the story of what seemed like a perfect family, our wedding day, Lucas's birth, family vacations. But the reality had been different. Ever since Lucas's diagnosis at age 2, David had grown increasingly distant. The golf trips became more frequent, the business dinners ran later, and his complaints about money grew louder. "Mommy?" Lucas's voice called from upstairs. "Is Daddy home?" I wiped my eyes quickly and headed up to his room. Lucas lay in his specially adapted bed, his brown eyes bright with intelligence despite his physical limitations. The morning sun streamed through his window, highlighting the superhero posters David had once lovingly put up. "Hey, sweetheart," I said, sitting beside him and adjusting his pillows. "Daddy had to go away for a while, but you and I are going to be just fine." Lucas's face fell slightly, but he managed a brave smile. "Because we're a team, right?" Always, I promised, helping him with his morning stretches. The next few weeks were a blur of adjustments. I took extra shifts at the hospital where I worked as a nurse, grateful that my colleagues understood my situation and helped cover childcare when they could. My sister Emma stepped in to help with Lucas when I couldn't be there, and somehow we made it work. But the bills kept coming. Physical therapy, medications, equipment maintenance, it all added up to a mountain that seemed impossible to climb alone. David's promises of financial help proved as empty as his vows had been. His only communication came through his lawyer, offering an insultingly low amount of child support. One particularly tough evening, after putting Lucas to bed, I sat at the kitchen table sorting through bills. A scratch-off lottery ticket fell out of my purse. A gift from Mrs. Rodriguez, one of my elderly patients who insisted I take it. "For luck," she'd said with a wink. I almost threw it away but decided to scratch it off as a momentary distraction from my financial stress. The first number matched $5. The second, another match. By the fifth match, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely finish scratching. $250,000. I checked the numbers again and again, convinced I was hallucinating from exhaustion. But the figures didn't change. $250,000. Not enough to solve all our problems, but enough to give us breathing room to ensure Lucas would get the care he needed without me working myself to death. The next day, after verifying the ticket and starting the claim process, I received a text from David. "We need to talk about Lucas's summer therapy program. I can't contribute this year." I stared at the message, a strange calm washing over me. For the first time since he left, I felt something other than despair. I felt powerful. "Don't worry about it," I texted back. "I've got it covered." His response was immediate. "Did your parents give you money? You know they can't afford to support you forever." I didn't respond. Let him wonder. Let him worry about how I was managing without him. The lottery win wasn't just money, it was freedom. Freedom from his manipulation, from his constant reminders of what a burden our son's care was, from the guilt he'd heaped on me for years. That evening, as Lucas and I had dinner together, pizza, his favorite, he looked at me with those wise eyes that seemed to see right through me. "You look happy today, Mommy." I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "I am happy, baby, because I've got you." Even though we cost a lot? He asked quietly, and my heart broke realizing how much he'd internalized his father's complaints. Lucas, listen to me, I said firmly. You are not a cost. You are not a burden. You are my son, and you are worth everything to me. Don't ever let anyone make you feel otherwise. He smiled then, a real smile that lit up his whole face. Can we get ice cream for dessert? You know what? Yes, we can. And tomorrow, we're going shopping for some new equipment for your room. As I tucked him in that night, surrounded by his favorite stuffed animals and the soft glow of his nightlight, I made a silent promise. David's betrayal wouldn't break us. Instead, it would make us stronger. The lottery win wasn't just luck. It was the universe's way of showing me that sometimes, when one door slams shut, another one opens. Little did I know, my newfound financial security was just the beginning. David's discovery of our changed circumstances would lead to a series of events that would test my resolve in ways I never expected. But for now, listening to Lucas's steady breathing as he drifted off to sleep, I felt ready to face whatever came next. The real test would begin tomorrow when David's lawyer called to discuss the custody arrangement. But this time, I wouldn't be negotiating from a place of desperation. This time, I had options, and I intended to use every single one of them. The lawyer's office was colder than I remembered, or maybe it was just David's icy stare as I walked in. He sat there in his designer suit, looking polished and professional, the perfect image of a concerned father, if he didn't know better. You're late, he said, checking his Rolex, the one he'd bought himself as a consolation gift after Lucas's diagnosis. Actually, I'm right on time, I replied, taking my seat. Traffic was light. His lawyer, Mr. Peters, cleared his throat. Let's discuss the custody arrangement and support payments. Mr. Parker has prepared a proposal. I listened as they outlined their terms. Minimal visitation, reduced support payments, and a clause requiring me to consult David about any major medical decisions for Lucas. The same man who couldn't handle our son's medical bills now wanted a say in his care. I have a counter-proposal, I said, pulling out my own folder. Full custody, with supervised visitation only, and the support payments will reflect Lucas's actual medical needs, not what's convenient for your client's golf schedule. David's face reddened. You can't afford to be difficult about this, Olivia. We both know you need my help. I smiled, remembering the lottery check safely deposited in my new private account. Actually, I don't. Not anymore. What's that supposed to mean? It means I've secured alternative funding for Lucas's care. You're welcome to be part of his life, David, but only if you're actually going to be present. No more disappearing acts. David leaned forward, his facade cracking. Alternative funding. From where? Who willed? That's not relevant to these proceedings, my lawyer interrupted. She was new, hired with my lottery money, and significantly more qualified than the one I had before. What's relevant is that Miss Parker is fully capable of providing for Lucas's needs. The meeting continued, but I could see the wheels turning in David's head. He kept shooting me suspicious glances, probably trying to figure out where the money had come from. His proposal grew more generous with each rejection, but I stood firm. Later that evening, as I helped Lucas with his homework, my phone buzzed with texts from David. Where did you get the money? Are you seeing someone? You can't shut me out of my son's life. I ignored them all, focusing instead on Lucas's bright smile as he solved a math problem. We'd started him in a new therapy program, the one David had always claimed was too expensive. The changes in just a few weeks were remarkable. Mom, can we have Mrs. Rodriguez over for dinner soon? Lucas asked, looking up from his worksheet. She always brings those cookies I like. I froze. Mrs. Rodriguez, the patient who'd given me the lottery ticket. I hadn't told anyone about the win yet, not even her. That's a wonderful idea, sweetheart. Maybe this weekend. The next morning, I found David waiting in my driveway as I prepared to take Lucas to therapy. We need to talk, he said, blocking my path to the car. Move, David. We have an appointment. Not until you tell me what's going on. I drove by yesterday. There's new equipment in the house. You've hired a full-time nurse. Where's the money coming from? I met his gaze steadily. You lost the right to know about our finances when you walked out. Now move, or I'll call the police. His face darkened. I have a right to know if someone else is involved with my son. Your son? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. The same son you called too expensive. The one whose medical bills were too much for your conscience to bear. That son. Lucas's door opened, and he peered out, his face anxious. Mom, is everything okay? Everything's fine, sweetheart. I called back, my voice softening. Your father was just leaving. David's expression changed when he saw Lucas, guilt, shame, and something else flickering across his face. For a moment, I saw the man I'd married, the one who had once promised to stand by us through anything. But that man was gone, replaced by someone who had chosen his own comfort over his child's needs. We'll finish this later, he muttered, stepping aside. As I helped Lucas into the car, I could feel David watching us. Once, his attention would have meant something. Now it was just another reminder of everything we'd lost, and everything we gained in finding our strength without him. Was Dad mad? Lucas asked as we drove away. No, honey, he's just confused about some things. But you don't need to worry about that. Because we're a team. Exactly, and teams stick together. At therapy, watching Lucas work with his new equipment, smiling through exercises that would have exhausted him before, I felt a fierce pride. We didn't need David's conditional love or reluctant support. We had something better, each other and the means to build the life Lucas deserved. But as I checked my phone and saw 5 missed calls from David, I knew this wasn't over. He'd always hated not being in control, and right now, he was anything but. The question was, what would he do when he finally discovered the truth about our sudden financial security? Little did I know, I was about to find out sooner than expected. The local newspaper headline caught me off guard at the grocery store checkout. Local woman claims $250,000 lottery prize. There I was smiling with the oversized check, Mrs. Rodriguez beaming beside me. I'd invited her to the ceremony as a thank you, never expecting it would lead to this. My phone buzzed. David. I just saw the paper, he said, his voice cold. A lottery win. That's where the money came from. I have a right to some of that. I ended the call without responding, but within an hour, his lawyer had emailed mine, demanding a fair division of assets, including the lottery winnings. They don't have a case, my lawyer assured me. The ticket was purchased after your separation with your own money. It's not marital property. Still, David persisted. He showed up at Lucas's therapy sessions, tried to corner me at the hospital where I worked, and even attempted to sweet-talk Mrs. Rodriguez into saying she'd given the ticket to both of us. That man, Mrs. Rodriguez huffed when she told me about his visit, he has no shame. I told him exactly who I gave that ticket to and why. Because you took such good care of me when no one else would. One evening, after tucking Lucas into bed, I found David sitting on my front porch. Remember when we first brought Lucas home? He asked, his voice softer than it had been in years. We were so happy. Until he needed more than you were willing to give, I replied, staying in the doorway. I was scared, Olivia. The medical bills, the equipment, the uncertainty, it was overwhelming. And you think it wasn't overwhelming for me? For Lucas? The difference is, we didn't have the luxury of walking away. He stood up, running his hands through his hair. I want to make it right. Let me come home. We can be a family again. I looked at him, really looked at him. The expensive watch, the tailored clothes, all the trappings of the life he'd chosen over his son. No, I said simply, we're not your backup plan, David. The lottery money isn't your second chance. Lucas and I are doing fine without you. You're being selfish, he snapped, his pleasant facade cracking. That money could help all of us. Selfish? I stepped onto the porch, anger finally breaking through my calm. You abandoned your disabled son because he was too expensive. You left us drowning in medical debt. And now that there's money, suddenly you want to be a father again. I have rights. You have obligations. I cut him off. Obligations you chose to ignore. The only reason you're here now is that you think there's something in it for you. Just then, a small voice came from behind me. Mom? We both turned to see Lucas in his wheelchair at the door, his eyes wide. Hey, buddy, David said, his voice artificially bright. I was just talking to Mom about coming home. No, Lucas said quietly but firmly. You left us. Mom never left. She's always here, even when it's hard. My heart broke at the question, but I wouldn't lie to him. I think so, yes. He nodded, processing this. That's okay. We don't need him anyway. No, I agree, kissing his forehead. We don't. The next day, I instructed my lawyer to file a restraining order. David's attempts to claim the lottery money had crossed into harassment, and I was done letting him disrupt our lives. 3 months later, we moved to a new house, one better adapted for Lucas's needs. The lottery money, carefully invested, ensured he would always have access to the best care possible. David's lawyer eventually stopped sending demands, and his child support payments, when they came at all, went into a separate account I never touched. Looking back, the lottery win wasn't just about the money. It was about proving to ourselves that we could make it on our own. That sometimes the best kind of luck isn't about what you gain, but about finding the strength to let go of what's holding you back. Lucas thrived in his new therapy programs. His doctors were amazed at his progress, but I wasn't surprised. He'd always been strong. He just needed the chance to show it. As for David, last I heard, he'd moved to another state, started a new life. Sometimes Lucas asked about him, but the questions came less frequently now. We'd built something better than what we lost, a home where love wasn't conditional, where worth wasn't measured in dollars and cents. And that was worth more than any lottery win could ever be.